Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 4, Episode 4. Today is February 27th, 2025. It's Episode 5? Are you sure?
No.
I think it's Episode 4. Because we only did one in January.
Oh, crap.
And it's still February.
I labeled this Episode 5, so I'll just fix that later.
Okay.
Sorry, we'll do it in post.
Anyway, Episode 4.
I'm so sorry.
And we are about 183 days till Elk Season. Because last week is 190.
Yeah, so you just take 7 from that.
So 183 days till Elk Season. I did math by myself. And tonight, we are the Chambers Brothers. My name's Harold.
I'm David.
And tonight on the Elk Season Podcast.
Got a hodgepodge of things. We've got, we're going to talk about some vital areas. We're going to talk about some poaching. We're even going to talk about when to scream. All that, but not limited to, tonight on the Elk Season Podcast. I did that so bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Like,
you want to do it again?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to own my mistake.
Yeah.
Because
that's all you can do. That's all you can do. I've done a lot of live radio.
You just make new.
And man, you just got to get over it.
Right. So, and I've learned that doing this podcast too. Like we would start and stop those intros much more earlier on. But I'm like, look. What I also learned this in recording, like how many times are you going to retake something to just make different mistakes somewhere else? Like you're just going to have to figure out where you can live with it and fix it or whatever. Yeah. So anyway,
try to get all the way through it and then contemplate your mistakes.
I'll just throw it out there. Look, I read that YouTube is looking for authenticity. So how could you be more authentic than take one? You got it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
To be seamless. And sometimes you can tell when you're watching, when you're scrolling, you can tell if somebody's telling a story one sentence at a time. They keep just reaching out, pushing the button and recut and recut and recut. Hey, just rehearse.
Yeah.
Just rehearse.
My problem today is I just didn't rehearse enough.
Yeah.
We went through the list. I made some mental notes, but I didn't actually rehearse what I was going to say. I just had an idea. Yeah. And if I would have actually rehearsed, it would have been better.
I had some scripts that I rehearsed for the very early on the Elk Season TikTok page. So if you want some real good fun, go to the TikTok, my TikTok page, Elk Season TikTok. Scroll all the way to the bottom and start there. And that's some of that stuff I wrote and rehearsed.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a whole series of cow elk calls based on ex-girlfriends.
That's right. It's actually it's a pretty funny bit.
It's a lot of fun. I liked it, and that's what matters. Anyway, so can we talk about Dev 7 first, though?
Yeah. So, we actually had that a little bit lower on the list, but you know what? Let's start there. Destination Elk.
Because we've sort of started the podcast the last 3 times with talking about Dev 7. I'm only an episode and a half into this last week, so there's not a whole lot there, other than I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
it's been good elk hunting. It's not so much about the action. It's about the hunt. And
well, we've said that for years, and that's really all I've ever been able to live by, because the harvest I have not.
Right. Not yet. Yeah.
Been close. Man. Been close.
I think closer this year or closer 2024 than any other year.
Watching the arrow go.
Tickle the hair under his chest.
It's so heartbreaking. And again, this is what you do when I don't want to be stuck in the past, okay? Because I'm going to make the corrections moving forward.
Yeah.
But knowing that I picked the wrong pin on just some weird freak accident. And watching the difference, the gap difference between 30 and 40 yards, because I used my 30 pin, should have been 40. Yeah. And it would have been right on that 40.
Oh yeah.
Just right on.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
they're working through the harvesting is challenging. What this step is, sorry, hold on. I've got an itch on my nose.
Okay.
I'm going to just be playing with it the whole.
Gotcha.
One of the things I like about Destination Elk this season is that they're like every other season, they show the realities of hunting, but this one, they've done a better job of just piecing together the day-to-day reality of hunting.
Yeah.
They're not cutting corners. They got lucky with one of their teams on opening day.
Yeah.
But then it was a whole lot of nothing for a while, and then finally something else, and a whole lot more of nothing.
And I'd imagine that if we had, if we had if there was 8 of us, broken up into 4 groups,
somebody would
about
harvest.
the same thing would happen.
Yeah. But I think it's a very honest depiction, and plus their history of hunting, their skills of hunting, far exceed my abilities. And so I appreciate learning that the trajectory we've been on, we're not as far behind as it feels. Watching these guys, we just don't have as many harvests because
I agree. Yeah,
the history hasn't been there. But I think we're closer because of the dedication that we've had. Even though we weigh more than 100 pounds more than those guys.
Oh my gosh!
But that's what makes us special.
It does, and I'll tell you this: I'm 52. I need to harvest an elk every year for the next 10 years. That's it to make up for all the work I've gotten that's gotten me here. That's what I feel like I need. I mean, I really don't care, right? But
all the different things that they've shown on their series too has been unique. So I'm actually gonna segue, if you don't mind, by using them as this segue. So there was an episode a few seasons ago where he had an elk broadside. One of their team guys did at 30 yards. He pulls back, and I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it. I've heard people tell these stories, and I probably said something similar back when we talked about this in season 1 or 2. This arrow bounces off the elk's side. It's a broadhead that does not stick the animal. It bounces off. It hits a bone just right. It bounces off. That is like really challenging to wrap your head around. But I ran into somebody that helped me paint a picture as to why that can occur. And I never thought about it this way before. So a couple days ago, I was in Boise, stopped in at Cabela's. And I went, of course, looking at a number of things. I like fly fishing, and so I was looking at some. Was there any sales I can't live without? I walked out. I actually walked out of Cabela's without anything.
Oh, that's as hard as it is heartbreaking.
Right. I was desperate. Like I got to the front of the store and I was like, I could use a Bass Pro fishing hat. Yeah, I could. Yeah. Give me one of those. Just something.
I know.
I need something to show that I've been there. Anyway. I went to the bow, the arrows and the bow section, the archery section. And while I was looking at some stuff, one of the workers' name was Wayne, very knowledgeable, long history, lots of success. He's been all over the world hunting. Yeah. But he and I were talking about, he was asking about my setup and what I do. And honestly, I was making a fool of myself because he's asking me questions that I probably should know the answer to, like, how much does your arrow weigh and how long are your arrows? And like, I knew the length of my arrows and I knew the brand of my arrows, and I'm looking at those things, but all these other things that not that we have to take it more seriously, but there's a level of knowledge and approach to setting your stuff up that goes beyond my wildest dreams. Like I wouldn't have thought. Like I honestly feel like I don't need to change anything, but there was a couple things said that made me go, I wonder though. Right. And so he talked about adding weight to the, if you can add weight to the overall length of your arrow rather than just at the broadhead versus at the knock end, you're going to get a different type of velocity in the way it hits. And so you'll send an arrow and it'll go through almost anything. So he kind of inspired me to be thoughtful about, because I'm just using 100 grain broadheads. Right. But same. Same for 30 years, right? but to avoid having an arrow bounce off of an animal like that, adding a little bit of weight makes me wonder. Again, haven't ever harvested. I've come close. You've harvested twice, and the second, and not that I have anything on this gentleman from Cabela's because I do not have the knowledge base. He threw numbers at me at one point. It was because it's so new and novel. It's a foreign language by all experiences. So a lot of it went over my head, but I was trying hard to really think about how it is and ask questions as it was useful. But the arrow you shot your second bull or your second animal with, was an arrow I set up for you. Yeah. And I was proud of seeing its performance when you showed me that. So anyway. Yeah. But there are still some things to kind of keep in the back of your mind. If we run into case scenarios where those things happen, then maybe I'll be more inclined to saying, okay, let's talk about how do you add the weight to the arrow, things like that.
So when I think about an arrow bouncing off an elk, I think about shot placement. Yeah. Before I think about arrow density. Yeah. Right. So Wayne talked about shot placement too, and he goes, people usually focus on a certain area right behind the shoulder blade. So instead of going up, you're going vertically.
And so he actually said, I usually go up at the top corner of that shoulder blade because it's gonna hit this area and hopefully take out some of their arteries on the heart or around the heart.
Right.
Which brings us to another point that you brought to my attention today. So it's uncanny that I had that conversation at Cabela's, then you showed me the image you showed me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of the vital area.
Yeah, it's a cutout. So this is a cutout. It's just a deer, but you can see this large ungulate and the placement of the heart with several arrows through the chest cavity without piercing the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very telling. And so I know that the heart's there, but I've never thought about shooting the heart, even though that's the logo.
Right. Good point.
But it's really about the vitals. Right. I grew up with the vitals. These are the vitals. And there's a liver in there.
Yeah.
That liver gets sliced. They're going to bleed out fast. There's lungs in there. That gets hit. They're going to bleed fast. There's a bunch of big arteries. And the lungs. And the lungs, you pierce the lungs and they can't run and it happens quick. It happens quick. And so I've always focused on this vitals area. I know where the heart is. I would like to hit the heart.
Yeah.
But and there's also this mantra, aim small, miss small.
Right.
Right. And so you want to aim for the heart. And if you're off, you might miss the vitals. If you aimed for center vitals, you might be off and hit the heart. But you'd still be center mass on the vitals. So that's kind of where I am on it, and I haven't killed enough animals and looked in them to see exactly how it went and what happened.
All in good time, because you're going to get 10 more in the next 10 years.
I know,
to make up
at least 10. But I did, my first elk was a cow, and I hit her in the back leg.
Yeah, I remember.
And that arrow, she probably carried it for maybe 15, 20 yards.
Yeah.
And it fell out the way it came. It went in. And it really didn't go in that far. There wasn't a lot of blood.
Interesting.
I did my due diligence. I knew that she would lay down and stiffen up. And so I just waited for a really long time, went back and found her, and had to shoot her again. But But yeah, that was and in fact I have you see me closing my eyes, wincing. I have footage right after I shot. I had my camera there with me. I pull my camera up and I zoom in and I can see her leg bleeding, and it's like that knee, right, and you feel the outside of your knee, and you think, I don't think a broadhead's getting through there. It's not going to feel good,
no,
but it's not getting through.
Yeah,
right. I'm not going to say it's going to bounce off. No, I'm not armored. But it's not getting through if it hits just the right spot. And so I can see that and understand that in an elk shot.
Yeah. So lots of great information to be had at these sporting goods stores, of course. Lots of people that work there have a load of history. So I think just a point of
is what makes it great.
A point of consideration for any sporting store you go to. Don't discount the amazing lessons you can get from people that work there.
When you get help at a sporting goods store, you want the oldest person there. You want the oldest dude there.
you definitely want the folks that have that good experience.
You want somebody with age who just
ready to
doesn't
share
really care about his job. He's not a salesman. Right, he's there because they like sports,
the passion,
outdoor sports. It's about
the one
passion.
thing about Wayne is passionate. Like there was, it was impressive just how much knowledge just poured out of that, and even though it was a bit of an overload because some of it was just new to me, it was impressive to be able to have that conversation for the time I was there. But there's other things that sportsmen you can get. So I'm just using a haphazard segue to gear. Because you showed me a really cool...
I will say real quick, that strategy also works at Home Depot. Find the oldest guy. Be like, can you help me?
Fair point.
Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to... you don't want this. Come with me.
Right.
That's the dude you want.
Yeah.
Anyway. Gear.
A quilt system.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, and I'm a big advocate of the hammock, and I'm going to advance my hammock setup this year. But I'm really curious about a quilt system. And what a quilt system is a large air mattress.
Yeah.
and then a quilt that just drapes over you. So there's more room than a traditional sleeping bag, but with less sleeping bag. And more room to move around and just as warm, because all that sleeping bag that is underneath you, you're squishing all the R value out of.
Yeah.
And it's useless. So why not have, and what they do is they have these big air mattresses, and the quilt just straps to the air mattress. So the air mattress is part of your sleeping bag. It's the bottom of your sleeping bag. And it's like a bed system. It's so much smaller. Anyways,
when 1.3 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest discomforts of being outside is sleeping in the woods. And systems like this are really, really changing it for a lot of people, because sleeping in a mummy bag on the ground is rough.
Yeah, it is.
I can do it because I like being out there, but I can't sprawl or spread my legs, and if it's too hot, and anyways, there's a million reasons. But I like to see the advancement in gear and what guys are doing, because it's not static. No. Right? It's the outdoor world is changing, and there's a lot of really cool equipment out there.
Yeah. We still got to get to a trade show.
Yeah, I know. Just to see that quilt system.
Yeah, just for that.
Yeah.
Let's see, where are we at here? So we've talked about the different species of elk. And we've talked about Roosevelt elk before, but you brought them back up today.
Yes.
Because you learned, and I get to this shot.
Yeah,
here.
I think I got confused. Because there's like a European red deer. There was a European red deer farm in Montana.
Okay.
And this is what I'm remembering. And I think I confused European red deer with Roosevelt elk.
Okay.
And these red deer, because they're related species, can mate with elk.
Okay.
And so it was a problem, and Fish and Game was like, hey, we need to do something about these elk that escaped the game farm, which is a problem in having exotic species at all.
Yeah.
So but they had, from what I remember, those red deer. I don't even know this has been so many years since I read this article. This is when I lived in Helena more than 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you know how memory is. So what I remember is these European red deer, they have a prettier bugle, and they have bigger antlers, but smaller bodies. And so a lot of the female elk found them pretty attractive, right? Because those antlers are a really big signal of your health.
Yeah.
And so anyways, they were worried about that. So that's where I think I got confused. But tell me more about Roosevelt elk.
Oh, they're just the largest elk in North America. Can weigh over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. And I think I previously had said they were smaller than the Rocky Mountain elk. Maybe in my heart, I just want them to be.
Because I think we talked about them being transplanted down in like New Mexico and Arizona. Yeah. When the species that was there.
Oh, that's right.
Was sort of hunted out of existence. But interestingly enough, and I feel bad for bringing this up because I don't have, and I should have sent you the dumb link. How often do I watch something and then I tell you about it on the podcast? You're like, you should have sent me the link.
Send me the link.
I'll have to go find it. I guess I didn't send it to you because I didn't have time to vet it.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, something about this doesn't make sense, but I want to believe it. But that's also what the internet does, is like, hey, it'll sell you something in a way. It's like, oh, I can just believe that because
it's all clickbait.
The video claim that American elk. Yeah. I guess there's no really other species.
Rocky Mountain elk.
Rocky Mountain elk, or just elk here in the United States. They're the only animal that has a high-pitched call. And they brought up red deer as their closest comparison.
Oh, okay.
Who don't have a bugle, not anything like what they have.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's true or not, but they're like, the red deer kind of stays low. Blah, 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 okay. But the elk goes, wee, wee, right? Anyway, sorry. Yeah. The whole point of the video is like, why do these elk that are so big sound such sissies? Right? And so they're just talking about the evolutionary history of these species. But so when you said the bugle of the red deer versus that, and anyway, I just don't know.
That's what I remember. So, you know how memory is, though. It's terrible.
And it's possible that I even remembered that video wrong.
Right.
So anyway, just food for thought. Every year every year we talk about it multiple times, poaching.
Yeah.
And so you brought a poaching story to light here.
And my lesson is the same.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing as always. Poachers get caught from running their mouth.
Yeah.
They get tattled on.
I really
get told on, and they should. And they should. They kill something they shouldn't and brag about it. Thank you for turning them in. So
yeah. I like the blurb with this image though, if I can read it. So the problem with trafficking in and having a trophy room full of illegal wildlife is that you can't really tell anyone except your close friends. Unless you are these three. In that case, blab all your crimes to a couple of plainclothed CDFW officers. Is that Colorado Department of Fish and Wildlife?
No, that's California.
Oh, California. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was watching another podcast or clip from a podcast this week, and somebody talked about the amount of public land in California is more than that in Idaho.
Oh, wow.
Because California is huge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of public land. Now, there's not much left to hunt.
Right.
And getting a tag is difficult because now you're one of how many people in California want to hunt? Right? There's a lot. So, anyway.
Just making sure nothing's out of the sorts here.
Sure.
Water outlook.
Looking really good.
It's really good. You wouldn't know it here in the valley.
Nope.
We've had the least amount of snow, I think, in terms of we've had a lot of weather and moisture, but in terms of snow, we haven't had that hang out for very long when we got it. But everywhere around us is at 100%
or above. Where is? Can I narrow it down to the Pioneer District? Can you see where we hunt?
Yeah, it's depending on how this map is laid out, anywhere between 120 and 110%.
Okay, perfect, great. And again, now it is gonna depend on how fast spring happens, on how quick that green wave rolls up the side of the mountains. But
there's already some flooding going on here in the South Hills, over in the Burley area, Declo and Albion, the towns near the South Hills in Unit 55.
Yeah,
the snow's already melted off enough that it's caused some flooding. This week. So
it's highs were 55 today, 57 tomorrow, 58 on Saturday.
Gorgeous outside today. I'll be honest.
Watch out for the rock chucks. They'll be coming soon. Ooh, I don't know what about seeing rock chucks just boils my blood.
Old Lyra is going to be. She has that thing about every March. She starts running to the back door. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen anymore. But I'll appreciate it while it lasts. It's pretty cute.
Yeah,
she's got the look of murder in her eye. I actually told one of my classes this afternoon about the dog. Somewhere it came up. And I just she's a murderer. Don't let her be fooled. Yeah. Don't be fooled. She is soft on human. Like if you put your hand in her mouth, she won't scratch you, but she will clamp down on one of them suckers. One bite, done.
I saw an article that posited on a hypothesis that wolves domesticated themselves. Right? Wolves go, oh, if we're just nice to them, they'll just give us food.
I came across this recently too.
Right?
Yeah.
They maybe it's in our best interest to just domesticate.
So,
I'm sure that's not how it went.
There's a documentary on Netflix, and I think it's A Dog's Life.
Okay.
And they talk about a hypothesis along those lines. Okay. So part of what helped them domesticate is it became beneficial. Like if and I can't remember, but they talked about that. It was actually a really cool documentary.
Yeah. And I'm reading a book right now called Why the Chicken Crossed the Globe. And I'm understanding the domestication of a species and how that slowly happens in societies. And so it's such a great book.
Yeah, it was. I wish I could remember it specifically, but you triggered a memory that's kind of loose in my mind, but it was in that documentary.
Oh, okay.
So, we go out and we have trail cams that we put out every year. It's always a fun experience to see what we get.
I love it. I know. Now that we look at this old footage, I go, I want to do more. It's so fun.
And we're not the only ones, though. And it's fun to see what other people get. And so Fish and Game departments across the West have been doing this on their newly built, game crossing bridges, so to speak. So you brought a 60-second time lapse of a game crossing, which is fun. So
but it's a time lapse a year.
Yeah.
It's a year in the life of a bridge.
Yeah.
Of a land bridge. And it's great to see the animals not just walking across it, but grazing on it.
Yeah, they're
comfortable, happy, and
as if it's a natural place, which is really cool. So we have those land bridges here as well, but it certainly brings back, the memory of all the cameras that we put out. So we have so much footage. And I am including myself in that because I know they're your cameras, but we put them out together.
Totally. Yeah. You want any of the footage. It's fun. It's fun to watch, especially this time of year when it's called spring fever.
Yeah. So next week, we're not going to have podcast next week.
Yeah.
But next Friday on my channel, my music channel.
Yeah.
I've got a time lapse. So think about this. It's a year time lapse, and I've gone through and I've tried to scrub and find some of the best shots.
Yeah.
And I've just put them as a backdrop to the song that you play at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So
and the time lapse, it's of a year of where we put those cameras.
Well, when I say time lapse, it's not a true time lapse because I didn't go and figure out where they fall in the
cameras
timeline.
Were buried for 6 months.
Yeah, they were
in snow.
And some of the shots you can't. So there's actually one shot where a mouse came running over. Did you see that one?
Was that when the snow was like all the way up to the lens of the camera?
Yeah, and the mouse just jumped in front of it. You think about these cameras being 5-6 feet off the ground
at least,
and the
snow it was 6 months. I mean, like from Christmas Day to like May. Yeah, there was nothing recorded.
So I talked to you about maybe at least every year, depending on how much footage we get, just putting together a time lapse song of some kind and just use it for the podcast. So
please,
to be continued on that one. The last thing we were going to talk about today is when to scream.
Yeah.
And any idea what that means? Go ahead. Pause the video, make some comments. What do we mean when to scream?
It's called the gift of fear. No, so this is a subject we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And I understand it from Temple Grandin.
Okay.
Who is, I don't know if you know who she is.
I do.
The most, allegedly, the most accomplished person with autism in the world. Personally designed more than 50% of all slaughterhouses in North America. Personally designed by Temple Grandin.
That's awesome.
She knows large ungulates.
Yeah.
Right. And she understands how they move and why they talk. And it's just absolutely incredible. She talks about a fight zone and a flight zone. So if you're in that animal's flight zone and you bugle, they will take flight. It's always safer to take flight than it is to fight. The thing about September is that fight zone is much bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can get closer, but how close? So I found a very nice TikTok of a guy saying about 150 yards. You get within that 150 yards, he's going to want to know why you're close to his cows.
Yeah.
If you're outside that range and you bugle, he's just going to move his cows. And I know we've made that mistake before.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So he was explaining that. I mean, you have your own thoughts, but my thoughts are probably not too far removed from the same thoughts of those scenarios.
Yeah.
Where we've tried and failed, and we've heard others try for no reason,
right?
And you're not going to get anywhere,
right?
So it lends credit to the idea that you don't just go out and bugle mindlessly,
right? But they do, and they're looking for that answer,
right?
And they want to know, oh man, that's 300, that's 400 yards away. We're outside. Then they had to be outside of his flight zone,
right?
So
if you were to say, I'm going to bugle, and we called it locator bugle, and you get a response, that's one thing. But if you keep trying that, that's what's going to push them.
Right, and that's what we've done. That's what I've done personally is, hey, I bugled. Okay, let's walk 100 yards and bugle again.
Yeah.
And we bugle again. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, they're the same distance. Let's keep hiking. Another 100 yards of bugle. Man, they're a little bit further away this time.
Yep. So it was kind of an aha moment, really. And so, but it also, I think these kinds of moments have to come with your accumulated experience as you gain more relevant experience. Because time and time again, as we've put pieces together, being first gen hunters, that has been true. The true nature of our experience is. Yeah, you got to put yourself out there, and you just got to try what you can know.
Yeah.
But then you have to sit back and reflect on what changes to make, and I think that's a trademark of what makes us good.
Yeah.
Because we're willing to sit down and really analyze that to move forward.
And we gather here. We try to gather here once a week on the Elk Season Podcast to do just that. To re-examine everything we've done and relive and reinforce everything we've learned so that when September comes, it's a lot more fun.
And the arrows will stick in the right place.
It's just a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Right? If you have those close successes, if you get up and you have a calling situation, it's a lot more fun than just hiking and bugling and never seeing or hearing anything.
Yeah.
And we've done both of those.
And in the face of what many hunters seem to think is, well, how do I say this? It seems, I'm having a hard time articulating here. We've gotten experiences from the same general area.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we run into hunters who gripe at there not being any animals in the area.
Yep.
So it tells us that we're doing something right. If we can actually go out and have experiences.
Yeah.
And then when we talk with others, they look at us like we're lying.
Yep.
But
yep. And I've been on the other side of that too.
Yeah.
I've been like, yeah, there's nothing around here. And I watch the hunters look at each other like, yeah, he doesn't know, does he?
It's not right. Yeah. It's so because we had that experience just last year.
Yeah.
And it's like we looked at each other and then
you're right.
We tried to share.
We totally did.
and they looked at us like we were crazy.
Yeah.
And we had just come off of the hill with 2 spikes that we called in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And they looked at us like we were crazy.
Yeah.
So,
And so that now at least we're on that side of the coin this time.
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Anyway, so we'll meet back here in a couple weeks. For the Elk Season Podcast. Take care.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
In the morning light, before dawn, bow grip tight, heart beating strong. Through the forest, ancient giants roam. In the land where the wild calls me home. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. The mountains rise, kissed by the sun. In September, where I belong. Bugles echo loudly through the veil. A symphony of an ancient tale. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. Silent as the morning mist, I travel on with careful grace. Every shadow, every sound surrounds me in this wild embrace. The challenge and the thrill, the patience and the skill. In the dance of life and nature, my heart's forever filled. As the sun sets, shadows long and deep, I find my place with the memories I keep. The chase and the beauty of a day gone by. Deep in the mountains, my spirit cries. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty, out where the hunter and elk meet. Here's to the wild places where the elk and I both roam. The chase that brings us closer the place that I call home. In the stillness of the forest, in the grandeur of the land, I am one with nature's wonder, with my bow here in my hand.